Please rise if you wish for the invocation and the pledge. Dear God, we are not used to this frigid weather, but we are grateful it is not paralyzing as is in other parts of our country. Tonight, we continue to work on initiatives started some time ago. Help us to make progress in these and other council and staff efforts this year so that we may end the year with most of our work completed or close to completion before a new council is seated. As we consider the matters before us this evening, grant us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that we may make the best decisions for those who have entrusted us to represent them. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is a special meeting for the month of January 2026. City Clerk, would you do the roll call, please?
Councilmember Sell. Here. Councilmember Papalardo. Here. Councilmember Stevenson. Here. Mayor Chazet.
Here.
Vice Mayor Butlin.
Here. Are there any deletions or amendments to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor. The sheriff could not make their presentation tonight. We're going to move them to the February 4th agenda.
Okay, thank you. Moving into new business, Public Works is requesting the City Council approve the purchase of one 2026 Ford F-350 Crew Cab 4x4 truck for the Public Works Department and one 2026 Ford F-350 Crew Cab 4x4 truck for the Stormwater Department.
Okay, thank you. Evening, Council, Mayor. This one's pretty simple. It's two F-350s. One's for the Public Works, which will be replacing a vehicle, an F-150 that's already been surplused, and the other one is the F-350 for the Stormwater Department, which right now the fleet for Stormwater Department is two. So this will be the third vehicle for the stormwater. You can see that the amount is $52,792 for these F-350s. And so the recommendation is to approve the purchase of one F-350 for Public Works and another for the stormwater.
Thank you. City Clerk, is there public participation?
No, ma'am, there is not.
Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
No questions.
Councilmember Papalardo.
It's budgeted for, no questions.
Councilmember Stevenson?
It is in the budget, just a little bit over budget. But
Correct.
not too bad. So, yeah, we need these trucks. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just glad to get up to date before June comes around with the Stormwater and Public Works Department.
Right.
So I'm glad to have this happen.
Just in time. It's
Just
about
in
a
time,
6
so it'll be good. Oh, do we have them? Are they ready? Or
No, it'll take about 6 months.
Oh,
June is
okay,
about
that's
when
what I
we'll
thought.
get them.
Okay, very well.
Quick question. I think I heard you say that the Public Works is replacing an F-150 with an F-350.
Yeah, the F-150 was actually, it was a hand-me-down from the Parks and Recreation Department.
Okay. So it's normally that we would have an F-350 for
Right.
Public Works.
Yeah, that F-150
Okay.
was worn out.
And it was underpowered, is that it? Because that's the
yeah.
difference between the two.
It was underpowered.
Okay, that was the information that I felt was missing. Okay, if there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I can make a motion to approve, where is it? Approve the purchase of the one 2026 Ford F-350 Crew Cab 4x4 truck for the Public Works Department and one 2026 Ford F-350 Crew Cab 4x4 truck for the Stormwater Department.
Second.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Moving on to number 2, under new business, the staff is requesting the City Council approve a vacant land contract to purchase the privately owned property located at 393 West High Banks Road for $77,414, consistent with the Volusia County Property Appraiser's just value.
Good evening. This is Richard Villasenor, city engineer. The purpose for this property is in support of the city's West High Banks Drainage Improvements Project currently underway, which also requires the drainage conveyance through this property. The parcel lies entirely within floodplain, and private development would increase flood risk and stormwater impacts in this area. We did have some exhibits here that we can review here. Just to summarize, the stormwater project for High Banks will, if you notice, there's a red arrow along the north right-of-way of High Banks, and also a smaller red arrow on the south side of High Banks. Those indicate the pipelines that the West High Banks drainage project includes. And it shows the parcels outlined in cyan or light blue. Those are existing city parcels that were previously homes, flooded homes, where the city purchased and demolished those homes. This parcel is immediately to the right of that, outlined in black. And the blue arrow that goes north along the west of that parcel is that discharge way for the community to the south to discharge out to High Banks Road. The permit for this project was issued beginning of December last year, so it's pretty recent. And this next slide kind of shows a close-up view of this particular area. The three parcels that the city owns is on the left side. If you notice the darker outline of the parcel that we're looking at here, the ponds lie immediately to the left of it. The easement is outlined in the red dashed line there to indicate how it fits into the system. As you can see, there's the drainage way that's along the west side, and there's partial along High Banks Road where this lot essentially becomes a part of this project here through here. On the west side, on the left side of the page, there's the exhibit of the sketch and description from the surveyor to more easily outline the sketch itself of the easement, of a easement that would be needed there at a minimum. At the next page we have here, this is an example of what we've been through with this property. Originally, these people came in, the prior owner, around May 2023, and it went all the way up to September 2024 that we went back and forth with their surveyor, with their engineer. This is the latest iteration of both. The survey that required a few to get additional information, the site design to finally come out with a plan that would work to make this lot developable, but at the end they achieved that comparison. And the complication here is that this lot is not formally in a flood map area, but because of the elevations, our code does consider depressional areas. In this case, the elevations of the lot fell at or below what the established flood elevation was for this area. Therefore, effectively, it's within the floodplain. And in this case, to compensate for that, they're allowed to excavate from the seasonal high to the flood elevation. So they did have some leeway there. And this was the ultimate resulting layout that would work. They're also here avoiding, if you can see in the red outline, those are what our city code also controls, the upland buffer. They're avoiding any impacts to the upland buffer. The ditch line on the west, further to the west, is considered the wetland line. So avoiding all wetland impacts. This was the layout that they were able to kind of make work to compensate for those floodplain impacts. So very, very tight property. So in consideration, the flood and stormwater protection component, purchasing this property would prevent the parcel resale and future development that could increase the flooding and stormwater impacts here. The secure drainage conveyance, that's always a big issue to make sure that the community to the south has that discharge to the north to the High Banks Road drainage system. And then future infrastructure flexibility. With the increasing storms from year to year, we don't know if this area can lend itself to an expansion of the ponds already proposed, or even just letting it flood as is could provide definitely that storage volume that would help in this area. And of course, floodplain protection. It just keeps that floodplain from being impacted and reduced. On a cost control and risk management, it offers a one-time predictable cost. From year to year, the values of properties keep going up. A cost now versus later is just a matter of that increase in market value. The easement often costs 25 to 50% of the land value. In this case, the easement size in comparison to the property would generate at a 50% value about an $8,000 cost. A full price would be closer to $16,000. But that's, again, one of those things where we may not have that flexibility to improve or upgrade or expand that stormwater system that's immediately adjacent to it and through the property, actually. It also offers some benefits to the community, the wooded character of the area, and then also the buffering that it would provide away from the adjacent properties. If you see on the aerial image there to the right, you can see there's homes immediately adjacent to this lot to the south. There is another vacant wooded lot to the east, and then to the west, that lot that appears open is our easternmost lot that we own where the pond is going to go. And as far as for the cost funding, Carmen, did you want to?
So as you can see, by the maps, this is a very large project. It's going to take a long time to construct. It involves piping on the north and south side of West High Banks, as you can see in your paper map here, and it's going to move a lot of water, and so obviously we have the permits and everything else, but as we're looking for this particular easement, when the engineering was done, the three areas that we had to acquire was not identified. You don't know that's what you need until it's engineered and designed. And I'll show you that in a minute. One of them, obviously, is this particular property where we have to get the easement. That was not known at the time that we started the engineering that we approved more than a year ago. But in this particular budget, we allocated some capital funds for this particular project. So you can see there, we allocated $500,000 for capital projects. $428,000 is still for the grant money that we're hoping to get for Bill Keller Park and the renovation of that pumping station. And then to be determined, we had put $71,000, which is the balance up to $500,000. For things like this, purchasing easements, properties, et cetera, needed for stormwater expansion. I put this exhibit together because it tells a story in which, this particular project, our residents, and I don't think our organization would be able to do this particular project by ourselves. The county approved $9.1 million, which is the cost of this particular project, with the city only putting up $500,000. And it's and I put the reduced resident burden there because I don't think we could do this project. I don't think we could raise the stormwater fees enough to do this project all at the same time. We even went to the legislature last year to try to do this project in phases, and it didn't make it through the legislative appropriation. But you can see there, we do get credits for the match for various expenses associated with the project. And obviously, we identified the Kimberly Horn Engineering, which is $272,000 for this particular project. And if we didn't have to get any types of any other assets, then our cash outlay to this particular project would have been $227,000 to make up the $500,000 match. So, but now with these three particular assets, there's a little easement at Duke. If you really look close on your map there, and that red arrow might have covered it, the Duke property just west of Dutchman's Bend jarts out for some reason about 15 feet. And so if we're going to put the pipe through there, then we're going to need to get an easement, and we're currently in process and in negotiations with Duke. As you see there, the 393 West High Banks property, we discussed that on a number of different bases, met with the owner numerous times, trying to figure out the best methodology. Given that, we felt that that given this project a little flexibility and to be able to expand it if necessary as we move forward. We're still waiting for the Army Corps of Engineer permit. The county's doing their environmental study right now, will be done in the next 3 months. Even though we have a St. John's Water Management, they're required with CDBG funds to do an environmental study in addition to the St. John's Water Management District permit. And so you can see here, and even the River Bluff, where the ditch, we have a prescriptive easement through the last lot there before it goes into High Banks Marina. Moving that particular ditch to prevent any flooding and of that particular home there. It is pretty essential that we move that and pipe that. So those are the three items that the engineering has identified that are just necessary to make this project go. And so you can see there that we would get credit for all three of these in our cash outlay. Now, instead of taking credit just for the engineering, we take credit for all of that, our cash outlay to the project. To meet our $500,000 match, it would only be $130,000. So in essence, the money that we're outlaying for this particular property goes towards this particular asset rather than to the, paid to the project. And so we talk about the value and $77,000, seems like, a lot of money because all of us have been here a long time but the values are going up. And so my observation as I've monitored the city is the housing valuations have slightly declined. I can see it in some of my the mortgage statements and everything else. You can see the market value, the estimated market value of your house. It's dropped about 4 or 5%. Because, in my opinion, the demand is slowing and the interest rates have a great deal to do with that. And that's my opinion. And then the infill lots, and we see it greatly because Richard and I deal with, and Mr. Babb as well, are dealing with folks who are trying to buy lots that are, in low-lying areas. And that's all we got left. And so there's not many vacant lots where you can build your own home anymore. And so it's getting more scarce. And so that's one of the things that are driving these prices up on some of these lots. And people are taking risk of putting houses on these particular lots. And then, of course, the commercial valuation is rising tremendously. When we started the Main Street project, those lots down there, TOD was $200,000 an acre. And when we got done with the Main Street, we sold them for $320,000 an acre, if you remember. Well, school bought the 22 acres up on the hill at Springview for $375,000 an acre, and 30 acres just sold on Benson Junction for $400,000 an acre. And so you can see that these particular properties, commercially wise, the values are continuously rising. So on the 393 West High Banks Road project, the engineering created the need, and it kind of put us in an inferior negotiating position because we needed either the easement or the property. In either one, we were going to have to outlay money. It was just, it seems like the best option overall and for the long term is to purchase the property. Certainly, if they build on it and it floods and we have to buy the property, now you're buying the property and the home. Because, again, there's a tremendous amount of water that's going to be going through here. I believe, Richard, that these pipes are 60 inches in diameter, 5 feet. You can actually walk through them. And so, and the contract, depending on your opinion and subjective, might be slightly over market. maybe 10%, maybe a little bit more, but the Volusia County appraisal just value went up significantly last year. I don't know if they have the same vision of the rarity in infill vacant lots. I'm not sure, but it went up significantly, and that's the number that we used. This homeowner did buy this lot for $51,000. They did spend a significant amount of money, as you can see in some of the diagrams, on surveying and working with engineers to try to make this lot buildable. And so, yes, this is the value that we end up negotiating with. One, because we're in an inferior negotiating position, but also we needed the property to make this project go. So staff recommends approval of this particular contract. We think it's an important asset to this particular project, not only for overall, but for long-term. The ability to expand the pond is necessary. The ability to incorporate St. John's Woods drainage, as you can see there, by this map here, the floodplain drains right through those particular properties. And so there's really an exponential benefit there for the entire project, but also for the area as well. And so, Mayor, at that, we recommend approval of this particular contract and adding this asset to our match to the CBDG grant that we got from the federal government and the county.
City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Councilmember Sell.
Was this property bought by the owner of it now to build on it, and is it actually buildable on it?
It is, and that's what the diagram that, can you put up Richard's, it is, you can see the surveying they went through, the engineering they went through. I got the slide here. And you can see where they're trying to locate the property, the fill that they have to bring in. It looks like they're a few feet from the actual floodplain, which is in the red. So yeah, it's certainly a narrow fit, but they've worked on trying to get this house to fit on this particular property.
One of the points that I specifically made with these particular owners a number of times, because we met a few times, as well as with others who are in a similar situation, is I try to give them the expectations of what it's going to be to live here. It's not going to be a lush green lawn. It's going to be basically natural land that you can't fill it in at all. If you look at the blue outlines around both the drain field and the home, that would be the limits of the water if it actually got to elevation 23. So they could potentially be surrounded by water at any given moment. From a permitting perspective, we're limited to, are they compensating for the flood storage? Yes or no. If they can meet that, we kind of have to let them go forward. But setting the expectation of what the final product is going to look like is a huge point that we try to make, so that they don't build it and all of a sudden realize, well, I don't want to live here. There's definitely a huge restriction here. And then again, they wanted to avoid any additional fees by any wetland impacts and upland buffer impacts. So to stay away from that is why this development, it can be done, but it's very restrictive. And one of the alternatives they looked at to make it work was doing a house on stilts, an elevated, a floodable crawl space. And then those are unfortunately the only options when you want to build in a similar lot such as this.
Do we know when he bought the piece of property that he knew all that going into it?
2023.
Yeah, unfortunately, we get a lot of realtors that come and then don't quite share the information with their buyers. Some are more informed than others. But it's just hard to tell when they're given that information or they understand what they're buying. It's just hard to control at that point. But we offer, as much advice as we can, especially bringing something like this up before they buy. And we have had calls on properties very similar to this where they're in their due diligence period, and we let them know that very likely there's going to be flooding issues.
This
It-
guy's very fortunate that he has the land, we need the land. Feels like we're over a barrel, and we're gonna be the ones that are gonna bail him out of a bad decision, probably on his part, for not doing his due diligence. That's the only thing that kind of stings. But, yeah, I got no more questions.
Councilmember Papalardo.
This is a perfect property for a land bank. So I think this is a very high priority project, and I would prefer to control the property instead of negotiate an easement. I think that's important. Potential of expansion of that retention pond. I think about the fill impact the house would have otherwise. It would put extra strain on the project. It would put strain on high banks for water flow, just the discharge from a storm event. Not to mention it's a very high priority road. It's the only alternate route for at least 10% of the city. I think it is a perfectly, now granted it is an inferior negotiating position. I think that's pretty well established. But I think this arrangement I would prefer than just the easement anyway. So that's all my comments.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes, thank you. I'm quite familiar with this area and the flooding issues that that whole end of High Banks and that neighborhood have experienced. I agree also that an easement alone wouldn't really be enough for this project, considering the plans to take the water down High Banks. It's unfortunate that the realtor didn't disclose the risks for this. It does look like a beautiful wooded property from the street, but if you dug down in there, it's probably all wetlands to start with, and just, I don't know, maybe that wasn't conveyed, because it looks like only part of it is conveyed as wetlands, even though it's low-lying. So I'm glad that we've got a plan, and I think that this is something we have to do. Thank you.
This is a plan that we have. It's a
You're
plan
not
that
on
works.
enough. You're not heard. There you go.
Am I on now? Okay, I'll use this one. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. It is a plan that we have, and with the money that's invested into this project, this is a minimal amount to get something resolved. So I mean, everyone has issues with how much we're spending, but with the amount that this project is multi-million dollars, that this 75 will only enhance our project and make it better. So that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, I strongly support this project. I see the need for this property. I agree that the property ownership is preferable to the easement. It gives me a lot of heartburn, though, the price that we're paying. And I understand that we're over a barrel and that we're in an inferior position. I just regret that we are in that position. For example, the property to the east, which you can see on your map, the adjacent property, which is larger than this property, was put on the market in December 2025, yes, last month, for $72,000, and it has a deal pending on it currently. It is larger. It is a step further away from the floodplain, and the price, we're using the just value with the appraiser website as the reference point for the price. We need it, we're over a barrel, it still rubs me wrong. I believe this owner also grubbed the property without a permit within the last year. What is in between the trees now is grass rather than the palmetto, et cetera, that was there. I remember, if my memory's correct, because I might have called it in, I think that there was a stop work order on it from code. And these people paid $51,000 2 years ago. And while I agree with the city manager that there's a demand for infill lots, I also know that the property appraiser's ability to quantify value, just value, has been handicapped. It's very hard to get accurate value. And this property at 77,414, that was put onto the property website as just value in 2025. The prior year, it was $47,202. And the year prior to that, it was $44,003. Now, the adjacent property that was just put on the market at 72 and picked up promptly has a just value of $80,640. But I think the owner had a common sense knowledge of what the market really holds. And I have my own experience with the valuations. I have a lot that is roughly twice the size of this lot on Fort Florida, wooded building lot. And in 2022, its just value was $43,005. In 2023, it was $90,804. In 2024, it went down to $85,615. In 2025, it stayed at $85,615. And I offer that not to say I know which one of those values is right, but to show that it's a really hard job to get a good value. Yet the owner does have something to hang their hat on. The local government said this is the just value of this property. So I understand we need it. I understand it's important. This project is critically important. I'm not real happy about the transaction, but I get that we have to do it. So that's the end of my comments. If there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the vacant land contract to purchase 393 West High Banks Road for $77,414.00 to support critical drainage infrastructure, reduce flood risk, and protect neighborhood character.
Second.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Now we are moving on to member reports and communications. Councilmember, whoops, growth management. Let's do that first.
They stayed all this time.
They stayed all this time, and I'm going to skip over them. The biggest part, you're right.
All right. Stephen Bapp, Growth Management Director. I will be presenting tonight the workshop number 9 of Volume 2 Public Facilities Infrastructure element and the Capital Improvements element to our DeBerry Comprehensive Plan and the Evaluation and Appraisal Review. You are very familiar with the workshop format, so let me skip forward to our first of the 2 elements for tonight. These were delayed from our normal battle rhythm, as I call it, as we had the holiday season and we had to coordinate with 2 other outside agencies for data and input. So little behind schedule from our original plan, but I'd rather have it right than rushed. All right, on the public facility infrastructure element, the element itself provides for sanitary sewer, solid waste, drainage, potable water, and natural groundwater, and is to be correlated the principles and guidelines for the future use of those things. It is directed by statute, and the statute is listed on the screen. What did we do? After our analysis and our evaluation, we are moving forward to finalizing the element. Most of the changes of the element are technical in nature, and, as I stated, controlled by outside agencies, primarily Volusia County Utilities and the City of Deltona, the Public Works Department. As the general public may not know, we do not handle our own water and sewer. It is outsidely sourced from those 2 agencies. The most substantive change to the element was the newly drafted water supply facilities work plan, which was coordinated by the 2 elements I listed earlier. Its last update was 2008. And these things were outside our control. So we now have it updated in coordination with Deltona and Volusia. The water supply facility work plan is required by the Florida statute, and it covers a planning period of 10 years. So it'll be pushed out to 2036. It addresses many topics: the water demand, the water supply, the reuse projects, conservation practices, water source protection practices, the coordination with state agencies, the concurrency, and our potable water level of services. You have the hard copies in your binders, and they're available to the general public if they request it. This is just an overview. The newly drafted water supply plan was drafted in coordination. The plan contains a map showing the water utility service area of the city, and it contains an inventory of the properties which are anticipated to be served by private septic systems for the foreseeable future. This general map is pretty generic. The yellow lighter color is the city of DuBarry that is serviced by Volusia County, and the small green dagger stabbing into our flank is the city of Deltona. They provide to the neighborhoods west or east of I-4, the commercial district by our I-4 exchange, and the some townhome and multifamily developments that are just immediately west of the I-4 junction. The capital improvements element is our plan, how we're going to dedicate resources to fix problems. The capital improvement element provides for the need and location of the public facilities. It is required by Florida statute as all elements presented earlier. What we've done, we've updated our capital improvement plan. A lot of this work was previously done, but not formatted into the actual comprehensive plan. There's been many workshops with the council on our goals, objectives for expending our money. This codifies it into our actual comprehensive plan. The element now references regulatory levels of service or bicycle and pedestrian facilities, which was not in the older plan, but is a new concept and a new thing driven by the state of Florida. The level of service of potable water and sanitary sewer has also been updated as determined by to prevent the city's comprehensive plan from needing an amendment for should either the Volusia County or Deltona plan update their levels of service. What is the CIP? It is really a spreadsheet showing our major capital projects. They are listed on the screen. Such items as Alexander Island, the Benson Junction reconstruction, Gemini Springs, the Sun Rail Exchange, and the bicycle trails. Some minor projects such as our quiet zone for our highway for our railroad crossing. Things as you see that are outside of our control, like the Spring Vista 1792 signal, is a capital project, but it is controlled primarily by FDOT. The two yellow highlighted areas are areas of concern, but we don't have a direct plan or resources dedicated to them, such as the sidewalk and trails expansion. We know there are sidewalks that need to be, gaps that need to be filled, but we don't have a budgeted resource to that at this time. Also, we know there are several segments of primary roads such as Enterprise, Fort Florida, and High Banks, which do operate at a level E at some nodes instead of the prescribed level D. We do not have funds expended to that, but there is still more research to be done. Perhaps when the CIP is updated annually from now on, maybe those items will eventually start to be added in once we have more data and a codified plan, certified plan. This is what I just covered. Apologize. We do have remedies for roadway improvements, which are listed on the screen. Those are some things we would have to work in concert with our engineer, with our traffic engineer, and some of their planners to come up with a certified plan to address that level of service E. We also are addressing bicycle infrastructure. The state of Florida has the highest fatality ratio of any state in the union. You can say, well, we have more people. Well, if you look at a per capita and per incident, we are the highest. Due to our lovely weather and our enjoyment of outdoor activities does put a lot of persons at risk who are bicycling. We know that Enterprise, Saxon are in need of improvements or some kind of mitigation system to reduce the level of stress, which is the propensity for a bicycle to be in an accident from a 4 down to a level 2. Also, the same goes with our pedestrian facilities, especially when we start building our main street and where we have more pedestrian feet on the street. We know that these areas do need to have special emphasis in the future. A new objective and set of policies has also been drafted that call for the collaboration with other agencies to address our capital improvements needs, which of course were listed on earlier spreadsheet, which are things like FDOT, traffic engineering from Volusia County Utilities, St. John Water Management District, and the private sector. The city does not operate alone. We do depend on these agencies to address some of our capital needs. So what are we looking at next for the comprehensive plan? We will have one last workshop, which will take all the council input that's been provided over the last 10 months, have that presented, and see if there's any last-minute feedback you have before we go to the adoption meeting. Following closely right after the February 18th, 2026 meeting will be the actual public hearing, which will have a transmission. It's called a transmission hearing. That's when you vote to transmit the plan to the state of Florida for review and to the VGMC for their concurrency. And then there would probably be a 45 to 60-day window from the state to do their review and provide us feedback. During that process, they would also provide staff, hey, you didn't include this, you didn't include that. And we may have to make some minor corrections based on input from the state of Florida or from the VGMC. It does happen, but a lot of times when we do an EAR, those are more not too substantive. They're more minor corrections that staff could probably do themselves. The last meeting would be the adoption meeting, which the plan would be in effect and be looking at our 20-year horizon once it's adopted. So that's where we are with the comprehensive plan evaluation and appraisal report. I will gladly entertain your questions. Thank you.
City Clerk, do we have public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
City Attorney, did you have anything you wanted to clarify on this?
Not to clarify, just a suggestion that many members of the public and perhaps members of the board may not have had prior experience with these terms, PLTS and BLTS, which are respectively pedestrian level of traffic stress and bicycle level of traffic stress. And I would suggest that that our comp plan define the terms, and I can give you a very brief outline of what this means. So, and I dealt with this in the bicycle context. So a BLTS level 1, that would be a low stress environment that'd be suitable for all ages, including children. And so that might encompass quiet local streets, very low speeds, or separate pathways, including trails. Level of traffic stress 2 is, we'll call it tolerable, where an adult may be interested in bicycling there but concerned about safety. You could have dedicated bike lanes on a moderate speed road with moderate traffic volumes. Level 3, that's for enthused and confident cyclists, those who are comfortable getting into high-speed environments, multi-lane traffic situations without separate facilities. And then level 4, high stress, that's for the cyclist who is strong and fearless. And so we probably wouldn't want any of our roads or roads to be with that classification. But just wanted to give you some idea, and so it would make sense to me that we have some kind of definition in the comp plan. I don't think that these stress levels are set forth in the Florida statutes. If there was an FDOT manual that may define them, we just need to have them either defined or proper citation to where it is defined.
Mr. Geller, what we do, and I appreciate your input, but we do have the reference to those in the comprehensive plan. So as I always refer as to state FDOT such and such. So we don't have to change our verbiage every time there's a change there. They can refer to the latest edition of the safety design manual. But I do appreciate it.
Sure, if it's referenced.
I think in our volume 1 we did define some of those.
Very good.
In our analysis or our initial part of the comp plan, we did.
All right. Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
No questions, but thank you all for your hard work.
You bet.
Councilmember Papalardo.
No questions, thank you.
Councilmember Stevenson.
I appreciate you going through all the work with this. Again, pedestrian and bike safety is something that definitely caught my attention when we did talk about
Right.
it earlier. And hopefully we can move forward with some of these plans now that we've got them written down. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Butland.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one quick understanding, because my mind is drawing a blank. If Volusia County improves, let's say, Enterprise in their pedestrian walkways and all that stuff, and it doesn't carry through into DeBarry, or what's part, well, it's probably a Port example, because that's all of
That's
their.
all county.
It's all county. Let's say it's Orange City against DeBarry, and Orange City says, we're going to bring our sidewalk to our level, and then you guys have to continue. Do we make that a priority at that point to continue what they're doing? Where does that fit in all this as to when these things happen?
Well, that's a great question. Well, a lot of times, okay, so we do have the, I was going to say the river to sea, but we do have the Volusia Flagler Transportation Planning Organization, where a lot of that synchronization comes into play.
Okay.
We get together with the technical team, with the citizen team, and also with the elected team to that body. And they're pretty thorough, especially if it goes over multiple jurisdictions. For example, their bike person is, Stefan Harris is an excellent planner, and he's done many intergovernmental coordination items for especially bike ped. Highway's a little different. I think that kind of happens organically because jurisdictions do join, but usually the road cutting through them is a state or county road.
Okay.
You know, I guess that's the best way to put it.
As long as
But it's
I
part
was
of the
drawing a
intergovernmental
blank.
coordination
Yeah.
thing that happens behind the.
I was drawing a blank on the mechanism to figure
Yeah, usually
who
it's a-
does what
usually
when.
it's usually 90% of that, what you asked was about the TPO.
Okay.
That's the hub.
Thank you for that
Yeah,
clarification.
you're welcome.
Yep.
I had a question about your slide that's about the bicycle. Bicycle infrastructure along US 1792, that's a state road. Enterprise Road, that's a county road. Saxon Boulevard, that's a county road. These roadways currently have a bicycle level of stress at 4. I'd agree with that. The city's drafted transportation calls for upgrading these roadways to 2. Now, we hold only the sway of persuasion over these other agencies, right?
That's correct.
So this is an aspirational goal that is in this element?
Yes, it is.
Okay, it's not anything that we can take, for example, this council can't act and make that happen.
Oh, that city shall reduce from 4 to 2. It's
No.
city shall.
These
work
are
in
all
concert
state,
with-
county or state roads, so we can't demand that they do what we
Right.
wish. We can try to persuade them that this is a smart thing to do. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Mayor, just for an example, like, for example, Dirksen.
Yeah,
And we know that we're going to be expanding Dirksen to 3 lanes.
Right.
Well, we're going to have significant input in these particular things, and this provides us a foundation to tell them, look, we need to get this down to a stress level 2. This is what it's going to take to get down there. That's part of our comprehensive plan. It gives us a little bit of foundation to argue that, the county needs to, if they don't alter it, to use that is desired in our city limits and our comprehensive plan to get these stress levels down to our standard. And they should comply with what the city's comprehensive plan and standards are.
right. I'm just making it clear that we can't mandate this because we have no direct control over these roads.
Only.
So we can put it in the plan.
Right.
We can say this is the desired level.
Right.
And we can then act in concordance with that when we have the ability to sway people who are involved and who can do it.
When they're making their upgrades and their
Right.
improvements, then we can step
Weigh
in
in.
and provide that input and say,
Right,
hey, we need to
right.
get this down to a 2. That's our city
Right.
standard.
But I wanted to make that clear. It's also with the pedestrian facilities.
Right.
Really, only High Banks and Fort Florida are things that we can directly affect ourselves.
Correct.
So anything that we do to improve it, which I definitely want the improvements for all these roads, will be through powers of suasion, except for the roads that we control.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. If there's no further, is there any further discussion? All right, then we will move on to reports. Councilmember Sell, anything to report?
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Papalardo, anything to report?
Yes, last week we were at the fire station ribbon cutting,
Yep.
but that was wonderful. But also last week I attended an opioid. What is the full thing for that?
Abatement.
The
whatever,
opioid
blah,
abatement
blah, 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 blah.
funding oversight committee.
Yes.
That name is not long enough, but we went over a lot of results from the first 2 rounds of funding out to the programs. The hottest zip code getting all the benefits is 32114, which is not surprising. That's Daytona. We're working on some information tools to be able to validate the effectiveness of Narcan and naloxone distributions, especially the vending machines. I'm nervous about the mapping of where these are all going. Lots and lots of vending machine requests. It's nice. I don't know. I have a different professional opinion on that. Another meeting's coming up in April. I think we're opening up some more grant rounds. So that's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Stevenson?
I did attend the fire station opening, and that was a very well done ceremony, and I feel like everybody that came and visited was impressed with the facility, and I think that our staff will be happy there, and it's a great addition to our community.
Vice Mayor Butland?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I also attended Station 39. I'm so relieved that it's open. I'm excited. Even though Fort Florida's closed, I'm excited that that's available to the
Yes.
community to get. I'm always going to say something about Fort Florida Road, I guess, from this point for the next 6 months. But it was an awesome ceremony, awesome celebration of a great accomplishment that we had in our city. There was an advocacy committee meeting today. If you're not paying attention to Florida League of Cities and cap on the tap and tap on the cap and all that stuff, there's a lot going on. A lot, and it's almost too much. I don't know how they're going to do it. But when Thursday night, well, tomorrow morning, I'm going to watch Sherry do her economic development with the DeLand Chamber of Commerce, or economic development, and we have a Volusia League of Cities dinner tomorrow night in Oak Hill. So if you're going, look forward to seeing you there. And that's it for me.
Okay, I also attended the dedication of the firehouse, and I agree with everyone. I think it feels so good to have that done, open, supporting our community, so many years' work, so many people's contributions, the admirable track record of doing this very expensive project in our small city without debt, when the last one required debt placement. It was a very rewarding day. I as well felt we left a good impression on all those who attended, and it was a wonderful celebration. I saw an article and have heard some news coverage today that I think is very well-timed for what we just finished discussing with our comprehensive plan update. And that is a notice that Castleberry has received $17.2 million from Safe Streets for All, federal money, and it is going into State Road 436 right before 1792. And it is focused solely on the fact that they have pedestrians and bicyclists killed and injured there at horrendous rates. And their studies go back to the 1990s, and they're only making it to this point. And it reminded me that we too have a Safe Streets for All grant where we are doing a study. I wanted to say, because I don't think that I will be here when the actual action happens after the study, but I wanted us to continue down that path, because that's a lot of money that's still available to do implementation after our study of 1792 between Dirksen and Fort Florida and that whole area for bicycle and pedestrian safety is done. We have in the past talked about sporadically whether there needed to be a bridge over the road. You've heard me say, I don't like it. I'm not sure it would be adopted by users. It's a heck of a lot of money to come up with to have it bypassed because it's easier to stay at grade. But I wanted to mention that this is what they have chosen to do, and none of it involves a bridge over this road. And I thought that was instructive because they have a very difficult situation, a road at least as wide as what we have. They will add more lights at crosswalks to improve visibility, decorative fencing along some areas of the medians to make it impossible to cross in certain areas. They will adjust the timing of the traffic signals to force drivers to maintain the speed limit between intersections, as a speedy driver will likely hit more red lights. So that's sort of a passive approach. It will widen the sidewalks to encourage bicyclists and scooters and pedestrians to use them for short distances. That's what they're doing with all of this money. And there isn't a mention at all about trying to take people up in the air and over the situation. I only mention it not because I would hate the idea of a pedestrian overcross, but because I really seriously wonder whether it would be worth the investment. And these kinds of things, we may be able to learn from some of these adjacent cities what it is that they do. By the time our study's done and we begin to use our leverage with state and county partners to try to make the core of our city safer for bicyclists and pedestrians, I hope that we look at some of these ideas because there may be things that don't cost whatever that last estimate was, $5 million to take people across the road at one place. And I'm off my soapbox now. That's it for me. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Wanted to take this opportunity. We are very astute in identifying problem areas in our organization. One of our initiatives when we started our communication department was to make it the best in the state, in every department. That's from our initiatives. And so we look for best practices all the time. We also identify problem areas when we have hurricanes and storms and everything else, is how well does our messaging get out to our residents that we have such a wide variety of different ages in our community, and a wide variety of those who use computers, use phones, don't use phones, they still get newspapers, et cetera, et cetera. And so communication out to our residents is always going to be a challenge, and we're fixing to start a new initiative to expand our communication out to our residents. And so I thought it would be a good time just to brief you. It's going to be starting soon. And I'll tell you how soon it will. She'll tell you. I brought Sherry Simmons here, but to brief you, because you probably get a few calls, and we wanted you to understand about this particular software and its capabilities.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, and Council members. Sherry Simmons, your Communications Director, and I'm also here with Casey Hewitt, our Communications Manager. So as the City Manager said, we wanted to share an update. Another tool that we're adding to our communication toolbox. It actually rolled out today. We had asked them to do it tomorrow, but it rolled out today because we wanted to brief you all first. So you may have received a text today with TextMyGov. As the City Manager said, this service enables residents to quickly receive the important information. Casey and her team worked really hard on researching vendors and defining the product that is best for our use. So after the recent hurricanes, we wanted to look for ways to expand our reach. And I will say, when Casey came on board, one of her top priorities that we worked through was creating a emergency preparedness kit, and she's done a great job in preparing that. And I will say the difference between 2022 and Milton was like 80% less phone calls and all that, because we were able to reach more people and get that word out in different avenues. But we are always looking for ways to reach even more people. And so while we know through census that 93% of residents have internet, not everyone is online, especially during a crisis. They're not always on email. They're not always scrolling, and especially in fast-moving situations. So text messages, as I think we all know, go straight to your phone. It makes them one of the most immediate sorry, I hear noises coming from behind me, effective ways to communicate critical information in a critical time. And so what happens is we partner with TextMyGov. They obtain the cell phone numbers from, believe it or not, the post office. So again, it's not perfect, but it also gives folks an opportunity, in case you will go through this, if you aren't on the list and you hear about this, you can sign up. So it's designed as to complement our existing communication channels. We're going to continue to use our email, or social media, our website, Nextdoor, the DeBarry Digest, but it gives us another and more direct way and reliable way to reach our residents. So Casey's going to go through the
Yeah, I'll just explain a little bit about how it works. So this morning we sent out a mass text from the number 91896. So for the residents who receive that mass text, they can either choose to opt in by doing nothing and receiving the text messages, or they can opt out anytime by texting the word STOP to that short code number. For the residents who didn't receive the initial text, they can sign up by texting the word DeBarry to that number 91896. And after sending the keyword, they will be prompted to respond with the word yes to confirm. So we will use this system for city alerts, like Sherry said, so emergencies, road closures, boil water notices, and hurricane alerts. The program also allows us, this is the coolest part, it allows us to segment the areas. So if there's a boil water alert that just affects one neighborhood, we can pick the houses in that area and only send the message to the numbers that are associated with those houses. So that way we're not sending out a mass text to everyone saying 20 houses are affected. So this is a one-way texting system. So if anyone texts us back with a question, they will receive city information on how to contact City Hall to ask their question. And of course, we'll always be happy to answer their questions.
So just a few more data figures. According to, again, the U.S. Census, smartphone usage also has exceptionally high engagement across all age groups. Shockingly, 95% of 18 to 59-year-olds have a smartphone. Approximately 92% of residents ages 50 to 64. And the fastest growing, as you can imagine, are 65 and older. Currently, that's at 76%. So this is, again, just giving us another tool to reach folks who may not be on social media or email all the time. And it does demonstrate that it's one of the most universal ways that we can reach people. So we have begun promoting signups across all our communications channels. It was interesting today, and Mayor, I know you commented, one person posted in DeBarry Proud, I think it's a scam. And the mayor and 10 other people, nope, and they started showing pictures of different ways that they found out about this. So yay, we are reaching people. Again, this person original poster didn't follow us. Well, now he knows he can get messaging through text. So in short, the texting services strengthens our ability to communicate quickly, clearly, more inclusively, and especially during emergencies, while reinforcing our commitment to use every appropriate tool that's out there to reach our residents. And let me just say, Council, I also created, while this system is for emergencies, I also segmented your numbers so that when we have something like the firehouse ribbon cutting, I can text you that morning, hey, don't forget, and it only goes to you. Don't forget, firehouse opening starts at 11 o'clock. All the texts say DeBarry, Florida on it, so even though it's going to come from me, it will still say DeBarry, Florida, and I'll say something like, Mayor, council members, ribbon cutting at 9 o'clock today. Whether you're signed up or not, I'm going to text you because you may not have thought you could make something, and then oh, you know what, I am free, I'm going to go to that. So it's just a good reminder, I think, if you don't mind. I think I sent you all a note. If not, I apologize, but I'm going to send something out soon. Do you have any questions for us? Yeah. I'm sorry, Mayor, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Sell.
Sorry, Mayor.
Is it true it will tell you why a helicopter's flying over your house?
No, that is not us. That's
That's the sheriff department.
That's the sheriff department, yes.
But again, the numbers, and I was not in the database,
Neither was I.
So I text 91896, and I put in the word DeBerry, and it texts me back, do you want to opt in? And I said, and it says, type yes. I typed yes, and I was in. And if I can do it, then everybody else can do it. And that's how easy it is. It's 91896, those 5 digits.
And it's on our website. And it will be in the DeBerry Digest again. And Councilman Sell, it's a one-way text system, so we text out, not in. However, if we find out that the helicopter is flying because there's craziness going on in the city, we'll probably text out, stay indoors, lock your doors or something.
Okay, city manager, anything else to report?
No, Mayor,
City
do not.
attorney.
Briefly, we have a settlement in principle on the Bank of America property, the Easton property. If all goes well, we'll present that to you on February 4th.
Thank you. Hearing nothing further, we stand adjourned.